This is Out of Bounds. If it's happening in the world of golf, we're talking about it. Coverage, debate, discussion, pro golf and local golf. Let's do it. This is Out of Bounds. And here are your hosts, Nate Sharman and Josh Durso.
What's going on, everybody? It is Wednesday, May 13th, and this is Out of Bounds. I'm Josh Durso. That's Nate Sharman, and we are gearing up for the PGA Championship at Aronimink in good old Philadelphia. Nate, major number 2 is on our doorstep, and we've got a lot to talk about today. What are you looking at here as we start the week?
Yeah, the PGA Championship is obviously one that is near and dear to our hearts, being at Oak Hill a few years ago in Rochester and coming back there next decade. So we always like the PGA going at Aronimink in West Philadelphia, where we were born and raised, right? And so it's really, really exciting times. But, I mean, this golf course has taken a little bit of heat so far this week. It's not the hardest golf course in the world. It's looking like you're going to need a real balanced effort from guys. So we'll see what that means. It could end up being a bomb and gouge territory, but we'll see what kind of goes on as people keep talking about the golf course and as we get into the week here as we start to play tomorrow.
Yeah, there's been so much, and we might as well start there because honestly, there's been so much discussion about the golf course, where the players are going to finish up on Sunday, picking apart the fact that there just aren't a lot of trees on the golf course anymore because it's sort of been stripped down and pared down like a lot of these major venues have over the last couple decades. Bob Herrig, I was reading just this morning, caddies and players are basically looking at 16 to 20 under par as the likely winning window.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I would probably agree with that. I'm around 18 under too as well. I saw a good interview on Nuclear Golf from Ben Griffin this morning. He was talking about kind of the winning score yesterday, and he was talking about closer to 13. Those greens are probably going to get crispy on the weekends. You know, that's kind of what we see in major championship golf. You know, the greens crisp up a little bit. But yeah, it looks like there's not a ton of trouble. The guys are going to have wedges in their hands for a lot of these holes. So I think there's a good chance there. On DraftKings this morning, I was looking at it, Josh, and 267.5 is what they have the line set at for over under. For the math people out there, it took me a little while to get to it, but 12.5 under is sort of that 265.5 number that they set. The under is a little bit juiced. It's minus 130, Josh, but I just think that's kind of free money in a way. I know that's a weird thing to say about gambling, but I think under 12.5, I'm looking right around that 18 under number. I think if you head over to DraftKings and bet some money on that, I think you have a good chance.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any disagreement among the players. I haven't really heard anybody, say that they think the
maybe
golf
go
course
bet that line before it moves then.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes you wonder though, maybe they know something that,
That's
the players don't or the rest
Vegas.
of the world doesn't know,
That's usually the case with Vegas.
Yeah, it's interesting. And, I think we've been kind of in this spot now with a lot of majors and just golf in general, talking about how, distance seems to be the only thing that's getting focused on by golf architects. But, we listen to players and, I was listening to Xander Schauffele yesterday and, he was comparing Hilton Head to the Blue Monster and how scoring wound up being basically the same, even though Hilton Head, Harbor Town is roughly 600 yards shorter. And he attributed it entirely to basically trees and having to actually shape shots and move around. Just because a golf course is longer, like we saw last week, it was playing like 7,700 yards and change. That doesn't guarantee that scoring is going to be lower because these guys just absolutely mash the golf ball. So it's one of those interesting things where, I'd like to see the golf's architects focus a little more on creating something interesting out on these golf courses to create some challenge for these players because they are just so good. They are so strong. And as we're going to talk about in a little while, even if the golf ball is rolled back, we may not be seeing distances that are that much shorter than what we're seeing now off the tee from these guys.
Yeah, I was just going to get into that golf ball rollback. I think that's really important, and I think it's something that we both agree on here at the Out of Bounds podcast. Think that they have to get there, right? Because they can't just keep lengthening these golf courses. They're going to run out of room. Maybe the Masters can because they own the state of Georgia practically. But besides that, it's going to be hard. They have to, like you said, shot shaping needs to matter, where these trees are and being able to work the ball from right to left. If you don't do that all the time, you need to be able to work the ball left to right as well, too. So you got to be able to get out of your comfort zone and not just maybe hit buttercuts the whole time or just hit hook or hit draws the whole time. You got to be able to do all the things to be a major champion. So I think that's something that golf architects and just anyone associated with the game needs to look at. I think that's a really good point, being able to have every shot in the bag and be able to be ready for any situation.
Yeah, and Rory, I don't know whether it was yesterday or the day before, but he said it straight up. He was like, "This golf course won't test every shot in your bag." And he sounded, I think, the coolest on the golf course. He pointed to the history and he pointed to how great a city obviously Philadelphia is for hosting an event like this. But as far as course setup, difficulty, and what you could potentially see from players having to dip further and further into their tool belt, he didn't really seem that excited or interested in what might happen. And he was really leaning into the whole just drive it as far as you can and figure everything else out afterward.
I kind of like that attitude from Rory, and it's really interesting too, though, because he's always been that guy that's gonna say a lot of words and not a lot of words, right, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I kind of get that I don't care that much, that fu attitude from Rory, which kind of I think is gonna fuel him. He's gonna win a lot of tournaments because of that. He's just gonna go play golf and not think about a lot of things. Whether he had to think about live for so long, and obviously that's dying, and he doesn't have to talk about that as much. So I think that's going to really fuel Rory. He got those now two Masters championships off his back, so he's just going to go out and play.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the golf ball, because this is really part and parcel of that conversation we were just having. Yesterday, we got news that Cam Young's golf ball actually complies with the proposed rollback standards. So he's playing that Titleist Pro V1X left dash. It's the lower spin version of the Pro V1X. Only a couple
He
years
plays
old.
double dash, right? There's like a special ball for him.
Is it the double dash?
I believe so.
Okay. So this golf ball, which is now less than 2 years old and just available out there, it already complies with the proposed rollback. And this is a guy who we've seen, I believe it was at Sawgrass, just hammered that 386-yard drive on the 18th hole. He hits the ball an absolute mile. That's why he's arguably that's the strongest part of his game. He hits the ball, hell of a ball striker with the driver, but drives it an absolute mile along the way. And here we are. His golf ball complies. That's the worst news ever for anybody who thought that rolling back the golf ball was going to solve the problem. Like, if I'm the powers to be, and I know this, like, you have to go back to the drawing board with the proposed change, right?
Yeah,
You can't live with this.
especially with one of your longest consistent drivers being, having a golf ball that possibly complies, and that's a little bit scary to think about. And if you're the rest of the tour, you're on notice, because Cameron Young has had this ascension this season after winning late last year, and it's just been incredible to watch him go, because, you mentioned that long drive on 18 at TPC Sawgrass, him just getting up there, being down one and striping it down the middle and forcing Matt Fitzpatrick to hit one right. So it's really interesting to watch Cameron Young and how he's ascended, and now how he'll possibly navigate the golf ball rollback. But it looks like it's going to be easy for him.
Pro V1X double dot is the golf
Excuse
ball.
me.
Is
Sorry,
the golf ball in question.
We
But
got
yeah,
there eventually.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it really doesn't matter, right? Like, at the end of the day, this is an issue that the entire tour is going to have to confront. And if this golf ball fits within the parameters of that proposed change, there's probably about a dozen other golf balls that these guys are using outside of the Titleist brand that also comply with it. And if the intent is to bring everybody back 20 to 30 yards, so that more of these golf courses, especially the older ones, can be played well into the future, I don't think the proposed change as set up now is going to do that. So this is one of those really interesting things where there seems to be growing consensus that there needs to be a rolled back golf ball. But we seem to be out on a limb here without a real clear answer as to whether we're going to accomplish anything by rolling the golf ball back. That's not good.
And it's interesting to see what it'll come by. It seems like the Masters is already hot on its tail to roll back that golf ball, and we'll see what they do. And I think it'll kind of pave the way for other entities to do it, like the PGA Tour. So we'll see what happens there. That won't be for a few years, though.
Oh yeah, the earliest estimates look like around 2030. So we're several seasons away from that happening. Hey, this is one I wanted to get your take on. Internet reacts to how expensive booze is at the PGA Championship. $17 to $19 to score yourself a single beer. The typical fare, like Ultras, Bud Light, Coors Light, that sort of thing. What are you when you see those numbers? What do you think? I'm trying to remember what it was when we were at the PGA a couple years ago here in Rochester. I feel like it was comparable. I feel like it was in the same neighborhood, right?
I think it was about that same price. And most golf tournaments are going to be like that. It's just that we're coming off the Masters and everything's super cheap at the Masters. I think that's one thing you're going to point to, right? And I think a football game not too long ago, I think it was, way more than that. I think it was, 50% more, if not more than that. So it's definitely something that's tough to see, and definitely going to make me pretty sad seeing that. And I had to go immediately post a TikTok the other day. So, but it's still interesting to see. They can raise the price to however much they want. If people want to drink and people want to party, they're gonna pay those prices, and it just goes to show how supply and demand works, and it's just really sad to see at the end of the day.
Well, so to me,
Sorry.
doesn't it make sense though? Because if you're the PGA Championship, if you're the PGA of America, you're the organizers of this event. You don't want people getting hammered, so you're almost pricing it to keep people from buying an absolute pile of them.
What I will say though, and one thing we've seen firsthand is that doesn't stop people. And like I was just saying too, if people want to do that, they're going to do it, whether it costs you a couple $100 or it costs you $10. Right? It's a tale as old as time that people are still going to do. One thing I do like about the PGA Championship, and it excludes alcohol. We saw it at Oak Hill. They roll out those ticket packages where you get the wristband, where you come in and you get the wristband. You can eat as many sandwiches as you want and drink as many Gatorades as you want. I really like that. I think that's a really good idea too, because especially in a lot of these golf tournaments, it may not matter as much in Rochester and Philly in May, but they are able to give out a ton of water so people are hydrated throughout the day. I think that's really important too. But yeah, just being able to go up and get a sandwich whenever you want is really important and really good. I think my nephew went to the golf tournament one day, and I think he was about 10 years old at the time, and he had about six or seven chicken sandwiches that day. So looking forward to that, and that's every kid's dream, I think.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it too. All food and beverages that aren't alcoholic are free at the PGA.
Right.
So
Yep.
they've gone fully that way. Obviously, I think they rolled that out over a span of a few years, but now we are in
Makes a lot of
2026.
sense in my mind.
Everything is free. And I recall from Rochester in 23, it was the expediency of getting people through the line and through
Yep.
the concession areas, keeping people moving. That's like the most important thing there.
Right.
So
Makes a lot of
it's
sense.
just a better way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that they just give out water too all the time, and just have those water stations where you don't necessarily have to go to a concession stand, I think is really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say my only curiosity, just because it's this other event is branded more as a party rather than a tournament. I am curious how these prices compare to the WM Open. So compare a beer price from the PGA to the WM Open, where the intent is for it to be more like a party. And I'm not saying they're greasing the wheels, so to speak, but I think it's probably a few bucks cheaper there. It's
probably a few bucks cheaper, but it's probably not that much different at the end of the day, right? Especially people enjoying, especially not just beer at that tournament too, in term forms and other alcohol. But yeah, I think it's very similar in that sense.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into some of the player stuff we have to talk about. I think the biggest story coming in is who has a better chance of winning, Scotty or Rory? Does Scotty finally get back on the tracks? Because we expect him to win every week, obviously. Or does Rory keep his major momentum going and just keep the train going down the tracks? Which are you leaning with if you had to pick between those two?
Out of those two, I think it's Scotty, just because of the fact that Scotty didn't play last week and he was on the grounds in West Philadelphia at Aronimink the last week or so, getting ready to do it. He's a defending champion, obviously won the PGA last year by a bunch of strokes. So I think that mixed with the fact that Scotty really only has one win this season, he's coming off back-to-back second place finishes. So he's ready to win. I think this could be a week we're doing all this talking about guys that can win. Scotty Scheffler might just bulldoze the field. So we can always see that happening. But I really just think it's a matter of time for Scotty Scheffler, and this place fits him pretty well.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I was actually leaning toward Rory until I started seeing all this stuff the last 2 days about him battling a blister under his toenail. And I'm seeing pictures and video of Rory with his shoes off and the dogs out on the golf course. That is not what you want to see out of one of the three best players on planet Earth 2 days or a day before the second major of the year starts. So I'm going with Scotty as well. Also, just not for nothing here, but like a blister under your toenail, that sounds like the single I've had as a runner. I've had plenty of blisters. A blister under the toenail sounds like something straight out of like a nightmare. like just nightmare fuel.
I don't know if you can really tape that one up to an extent, right?
I mean, I think you just have to like lose the whole foot. Your whole foot just has to go.
Just cut it off.
Does let's talk about Liv's Jon Rahm. Does he finally look like a guy who could finish in the top 5?
No, this week for me. I don't think any of the Live guys will be up at the top of the leaderboard. I know that's kind of a jump to say, and I don't have a ton of like stats to back it up. But I just think with the turmoil of Live that's been well documented over the last few weeks, I think that's a scary proposition. These guys aren't. They didn't necessarily, those top two guys, some other guys played well at the Masters, but those two top guys didn't play that well at the Masters. Bryson obviously missed the cut. So I just don't think they're in the right position to play well at Aronimink. But with Bryson and Rahm and this golf course being not the hardest in the world, certainly I could see a path where one of those two guys, or both of those two guys, even play well. But I just don't think it'll happen this week. What do you think?
So you know what? If all of this stuff with Liv's future hadn't been swirling in the headlines for the last like 2 months now, and, Bryson wasn't getting bombarded with questions about, what he's going to do next. He's in the middle of contract negotiations, all this stuff. I would actually put him among my 3 favorites to win here, because it is just a bomb it and figure out what to do next golf course. And he could absolutely win under those circumstances. But I agree. I think between he and Rahm, unfortunately, there's just too much going on beneath the surface here with Liv. These guys are clearly distracted. I think that was my big takeaway from the Jon Rahm presser the other day. There were points where he looked comfortable and happy and kind of like old Jon Rahm, but for a vast majority of it, he just looked uncomfortable. Like he wasn't like ready to answer questions. And I know like these guys are trying to, they're trying to put on a happy face for Liv, even though there are tons of questions about it. And I know there's the contractual obligation of them literally not being able to say anything critical of Liv. But it's just one of those really, to me, it's one of those unfortunate things, because Jon Rahm should be a guy who everyone is thinking as one of the 3 or 4 favorites coming into this. And I think he is on the books, but he's one that I would be avoiding like the absolute plague, because I just don't think his game is there. And I think with everything happening off the golf course, imagine it, Nate, after every single round, he's going to walk off the 18th. He's going to walk up to a reporter, and after 1 or 2 questions about how he played that day, they're going to ask him a question about Liv.
Right.
There's no way he gets through this weekend, or any of those guys get through this weekend and winning. And if they do, kudos to them. It could be one of the most impressive golf feats we've seen in the last several years if someone like Rahm were to do that.
Yeah, there's a couple things that worry me about Bryson and his real game too. We saw the sort of wedge distances kind of be a problem for him these last years. He talked about a new golf ball. He talked about changing his wedges a little bit. He's talked a lot about that. So I'm not really sure if he's dialed that in yet. And also the putting is always something that's going to hesitate me with Bryson. Especially at a golf tournament where you're going to have to make a lot of putts. I think you're going to have a lot of chances to make a lot of birdies. But those are 2 things that worry me. But it's Bryson DeChambeau, and he's proved time in and time again that he's a big time player. He's obviously won a couple U.S. Opens, and he showed that he's going to be around for the long haul. And he shows that when these major championship golf courses, when the top fields in golf are there, and the big prize money's on the line, he's going to be there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bryson figures it out this week and he's right at the top, especially after missing the cut at the Masters. He's going to come back firing.
Yeah. One more Bryson question, because I'm curious. I don't think we've talked about it online or offline. There was the headline a couple weeks ago that Bryson said even if he wasn't playing for Liv next year and he wasn't playing on the PGA Tour, he could play YouTube golf and be ready for the majors. Agree or disagree with that analysis?
100% disagree. I don't think you could play YouTube golf and not play competitive golf and play 4 or 5 competitive golf tournaments a year and expect to contend in those. I don't think that's possible. Just because YouTube golf, he's going to take a little bit. He's going to take a little bit off. You can simulate competitive golf as much as you want. I don't think you can actually play competitive golf without playing it. So, but what do you think?
You can't simulate the crowds. You can't simulate the energy. You can't simulate the stress,
the pressure,
the pressure. Like you can't simulate those things. So to me,
no.
I
don't think so either.
I think that's just something you say to try and like put on a strong face when you're in the midst of trying to negotiate what your future looks like when you are literally in your prime.
Yeah.
Bryson is
not a couple days later. They changed their PGA Tour. PGA Tour changed their media policy a couple days later. So it clearly worked for Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some other high-profile players here. We were going to talk about these 4 players in the context of golf in general, but Now we have to talk about them heading into the PGA Championship. Which brotherly duo is going to finish higher? Is it the Fitzpatricks, who have had a really, really hot few weeks, or the Hogards, Nikolai and Rasmus, who also, while not winning, have been around several weeks in a row?
Yeah, I think it's the Norwegian twins and the Højgaard twins. I think with Alex, I think eventually what we see with these guys that get hot on the PGA Tour, especially, they hit a wall at some point, and I think it could be this week for Alex. I think he's had a bunch of good finishes in a row. Obviously contended to win last week too, and had that high finish and won on the DP World Tour a month and a half ago. I think at some point you got to hit that rookie wall is the right way to go. And these Højgaard twins have been playing on tour and played in Ryder Cups now, so they both have played in big high profile events. So I just think these guys are going to keep going, and I think that Alex has a potential to hit that wall, but maybe not. I don't know. I think it's the Højgaards for me though.
I agree, but here's how I see this playing out. And this is just, I was workshopping this morning when I was thinking about it. I could see a scenario where Matt Fitz wins, Alex misses the cut, and the Hogards both finish in like top 10, top 20 territory.
Yeah.
And then you're left asking the question, okay, who actually had the better weekend?
All
you
right.
give it to the winner, probably.
You give it to the winner, I would say.
Yeah. But I think that goes back to your point of like, if we're just talking about consistency and quality of golf, I think the Hogards win this 9 out of 10 times, if not 10 out of 10 times, right?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, we talk about golf and how much momentum is important. And Alex Fitzpatrick and even Matt Fitzpatrick has a lot of momentum. He's won three times this season, and Alex is coming off a win on the DP World Tour and a couple close finishes on the PGA Tour. So they're hot right now. So maybe they keep it moving.
Okay, so let's get into our picks for the week. Nate, let's start with winners. Who do we have as a winner this week?
I had talked so much about Scotty Scheffler. It's a shame that I'm not picking him this week, but I'm going a little bit further down the leaderboard with my main pick in Tommy Fleetwood at 27-1. And I really just think that Tommy Fleetwood, after he won the Tour Championship last year, he's had some good finishes this season. Hasn't won or been really, really close to winning either, but he's had some good finishes though. But I still think that Tommy Fleetwood's going to win a major sometime in his career, and it's not going to be on a golf course like Shinnecock or like Augusta, where it's going to be a really challenging golf tournament. Aronimik kind of fills that void where it's going to be a little bit easier. Birdies are going to be there to be made, and I think Tommy Fleetwood, he can keep that he's got a hot putter going on right now too. So I think Tommy Fleetwood is going to be my pick to make a lot of birdies this week and hold the Wanamaker Trophy up on Sunday night.
And you know what? I was going to pick the exact same player for all the reasons you just mentioned. And in the last 20 minutes, I have literally turned a corner. I'm picking Xander Schauffele.
Oh man, you were against him last week.
Yeah, this is completely against the grain of everything that I've been thinking for the last 2 months about who might have a good chance to win this tournament. But looking at the field, looking at the game Xander plays, and then listening a bit to his press conference, I see a guy who is almost the complete opposite of Jon Rahm. Incredibly comfortable, incredibly dialed in and balanced, and he hasn't been he's been playing well. He hasn't contended necessarily to win, but he hasn't been playing poorly like we had seen kind of like a really out of form version of himself several months ago. So I'm going with Xander. Might be a crazy move. I might regret this tomorrow afternoon, but hopefully he contends so I can get my second pick in 3 weeks correct.
Yeah, I see a lot of comparables to Valhalla. So I think Xander's going to play well. I like that pick a lot. For the same reasons I like Tommy Fleetwood. I think both those players are guys that are going to win majors, and Xander showed it already on a little bit easier of major test golf courses. That's not throwing any shade at them. That's just kind of how I think.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Let's talk long shots. Anybody looking at right now that's in the long shot category?
The reigning U.S. Open champion, J.J. Spaun. I took him to win. I took him to be top 20 this week at plus 195. I think this guy doesn't hit it a long way. We talked about how bombing it could be really important this week. He's certainly not a bomber, but he's got good numbers on the approach game this year. I think he's 9th in approach, and if he can get that big spaceship lab putter hot, which he did at the U.S. Open last year, I think J.J. Spaun can find out a way to play well this week. Maybe not win, but play well. I also like Bob McIntyre, Big Shot Bob. I think he's going to have a good chance to win a major. He played well in all of them last season. Haven't seen a ton from him. And then my third long shot, Sam Burns. I think he kind of fits that category with not a bomber, but it's going to have a lot of chances to make birdies and one of the best, if not the best putter on the PGA Tour. So give me those three guys to play well this week. Not necessarily win, but play well.
You know what? I've got a long shot pick that is another one, probably goes in my regret category most weeks, but I'm leaning into it. When I came across his name, I had scrolled so far that I had forgotten he was even in the field. And he's a major winner. I'm talking about Wyndham Clark sitting at 175 to 1 to win. This is not some slob from the Corn Ferry Tour. We are talking about Wyndham Clark 175 to 1. I'm going to take him to contend, even potentially win. I might just throw a couple bucks on him to win just for the sake of
Wow.
it. Wide
We might
open
need to
golf
do
course.
we
Wide
might
open
need to
golf
do a
course. He
well
won
check.
in LA. He won in LA where you literally could just hit it anywhere you wanted to. He could win here.
I might need to order a wellness check on you because you picked Xander Schauffele and Wyndham Clark in the same episode. Two golfers that you don't pick very much and can be critical of their games at times. Yeah, that's interesting because I do like that thinking though, because Wyndham Clark is a guy that matches the golf ball, so he can give him some chances to win. He's 175 to 1. He's fallen that far. That's shocking.
Yeah, I was scrolling so far that I had just forgotten he was even in the field. Like he was gone, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, 175 to 1 is some damn good odds to put a couple bucks on Wyndham Clark and see maybe he could. He's hosted a major championship before. Maybe he could hold the Wanamaker too.
Who knows? Are we avoiding anyone? I already mentioned John Rahm. I'm avoiding him on picks this week. Is there anybody that you're staying away from?
Well, this pains me to say, but a lot of people like him this week. I think Ludwig Aberg he needs to. It's just gonna wait a little bit longer for Ludwig. I don't know. Some of these problems on Sunday, but he's been playing some good golf. But some of these problems on Sunday are gonna, I think, could raise their ugly head and combat him. Is there anybody that you're kind of looking at that you don't want that you want to avoid?
You know what? I hate having to say this out loud. I'm avoiding Jordan Spieth, and I feel like he's a guy that I want to pick at every PGA because I want so badly for him to have the career Grand Slam. And if he won, I would be the happiest person in the world.
Oh my goodness! Imagine the golf world if Jordan Spieth wins. I think he might be the fan favorite this week.
I mean,
definitely.
I just think this particular golf course, he just doesn't hit it far enough. I just don't think he has the. I don't think he has the distance. Right?
Yeah, but he has the magic, right? I mean, I don't know how much trouble he can get in here. So he has the magic.
That's fair. That's fair.
Oh man, I can't imagine a world where Jordan Spieth wins the career Grand Slam this week. How much we've seen the golf world have a lot of good stories this season, and this would automatically rise to the top about how cool this story would be if Jordan Spieth wins.
It would put so many golf commentators, analysts, golf fans in an absolute pretzel because I have listened to people just talk trash about this guy for literally the last 10 years because he had that really hot start. And then all of a sudden, like his career, for every year that went by that he didn't sit in the top 5 or top 10, every year that went by, it was like his career got worse and worse and worse and worse. And yet, if you just look at his wins, where they were, how he did it, and how dominant he was, even just that snapshot as a career is incredible for the generation that he came out of. So it would just, to me, it would be the most incredible thing to see it happen. I would love it.
That would be really, really cool. And but yeah, Jordan Spieth just needs to be certainly a fan favorite and one that's going to set the golf world on fire if he does do it.
Yeah. Props. Do we have any prop bets that we're watching? I get a couple.
It's not technically a prop bet, but one more bet for me. I did it this morning. Rory and Cam to finish in the top 20 parlay together is plus money. I thought that was really good because at plus 142, these are two guys that are going to compete here. They hit the ball long enough, and we've talked about them both having a chance to win. So I think they're both around on Sunday. Maybe not either one of them win, but I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. But they will certainly, almost 99% that they'll be competing for the Wanamaker Trophy on Sunday. So that's another bet that I'm telling you to take to the bank.
Yeah. So I've got two, and we'll start with the one that feels like free money. Young plus 150 to finish in the top 10. The way he's been playing, even if he doesn't win at this golf course under these circumstances, a top 10 finish feels almost automatic. And I think with the way his game has developed, he shouldn't have any trouble doing that. So plus 150, I'm taking that all day. I'll take that one to the bank later this morning before that number changes. And then DraftKings has a Scotty Scheffler, Matt Fitzpatrick top 5 finish parlay at plus 760. Scotty Scheffler finishing top 5 feels automatic. So it feels like we're 50% of the way there. This bet really boils down to, can Matt Fitzpatrick finish top 5? And with it being a plus 760, I feel like I have to take that, right? Like, does that feel right? Does that feel appropriate?
Yeah, you're finding good value. You got Wyndham Clark at 175 to 1, and you got this top 5 parlay at what plus at 7 to 1 or 8 to 1. So it's pretty good. You're finding value on the books. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. So my last prop for you is one that we're building right here. We'll call it the Out of Bounds exclusive. It's the 3-way finish. We talk about this every single week. I give you 3 players. You tell me which one is going to finish best, except this time we're going with previous winners. Brooks Koepka, Justin Thomas, or Colin Mork.
I'm scared about Brooks Koepka this week. I don't think it's necessarily the golf course for him. He's been a guy that's proved that he can win on hard golf courses, i.e. Shinnecock, like these golf courses where you kind of have to make a lot of pars. And this is going to be a tournament where you have to make a lot of birdies. So I don't really love Brooks Koepka this week. I think we need to do a better job of tracking this 3-man prop. That's another thing that producer Paul Russo can put on his notebook for having another task that we can give him. But I think it's Justin Thomas out of those 3. Colin Morikawa still scares me a little bit. Doesn't hit the ball extremely far. Brooks Koepka I don't like for those reasons I just mentioned. So give me Justin Thomas to pass PGA champion to win another one out of that group.
You know what? I'm actually going with Brooks Koepka. To me, he feels like the hottest player among those 3. Colin, we saw him kind of hobble his way around after that back injury and contend a couple times. But, at the end of the day here, I'm going with the guy who has the hot hand right now, and it seems to be Brooks Koepka. And listen, when it comes to PGA Championships and US Opens, he knows how to win them. And I know this golf course isn't necessarily a perfect setup for him, but he hits the ball a long way. He does the things that you're going to need to do this weekend. I think he could do it. I certainly think he finishes best among those 3 players.
I got one coming back for you too in a major championship 3-way back. And Sean McKeel, Jimmy Walker, or Padraig Harrington, who will make the cut?
Yeah, my God.
Or Michael Block.
I'll stick with the 3. I feel like putting Blocky in there is almost unfair to those other 3 guys. I'm going to go with Jimmy Walker as a longtime Jimmy Walker stan. Followed him around the PGA Championship during a practice round at Oak Hill in 2023. You clowned me for it. No one else was following him. I just followed him around. Watch him go through the motions. Give me Jimmy Walker to make the cut this weekend. Make the cut.
On his 10-year anniversary of him winning, he won in 2016, right?
I can't quite
I believe
remember.
so. I believe so. It was 2016. So I believe it's a 10-year anniversary of him playing. I like Padraig Harrington. I like watching him a lot because he's a guy that's really worked on the speed in the last 10 years, and it's been incredible to watch. He hits the ball hard for his age. It's pretty incredible. Padraig Harrington is always a fan favorite out there too. People like him a lot. So I think Padraig could play well. Who knows?
We'll see how we did, and maybe we'll come on here halfway through here or jump on TikTok and talk through our successes or failures here come Friday night when we've either got it right or got it very wrong.
I like it.
All right. Hey, that is going to do it for this episode. Be sure to follow us on TikTok and here on YouTube if you want to see more in between episodes. You can also subscribe to our newsletter to get the latest episodes delivered to your inbox. Have a good weekend. And remember, whether it's down the middle or out of bounds, keep on swinging.